So, what's up, guys? I wanted to talk about, you know, some of the writers have been saying about, now with Pacquiao having been knocked out by Marquez, will a Mayweather bout ever happen, and should Arum be rushing to try to make it now? That doesn't make much sense to me. I think, in my opinion, here's what I think has happened. I think Mayweather has actually won the sort of pre-fight battle, if you will, between him and Pacquiao. I think that Mayweather claimed, well, first he wanted two things. He didn't want to give up half, and he wanted the Olympic style blood testing. Now, I know I've seen video of Roach on the record saying that they are not, at least in the past, they were unwilling to undergo that type of testing in the manner in which it needs to occur in order for it to be complete. And there was something about a 2 week period or a month period where they didn't want to do it before the fight. Anyhow, that being said, ever since that talk really started to become real public, you know, Pacquiao hasn't looked so great in his last few fights. I mean, he didn't look great. He did not look good against Mosley. Um, and we just saw what happened with Marquez. And I think there was another fight in there where he was, he complained about leg cramps and such. I think it's been three. I don't even know who the other guy was, but anyhow, um, point is that I always had a theory, and I mentioned this in one of my earlier videos from like a year ago, that he was going to give it a shot. Let his if he was in fact on performance enhancing drugs, he was going to try to flush it out of his system and see, um, because I think he wants the fight with Mayweather. I think anybody wants to fight with Mayweather, and and I think he was trying to maybe see what he's got left. And also, I think what might be contributing to some of his downfall right now is it's like the Tiger Woods syndrome. Here it is. We have a guy that was out on the prowl. He's married. And he's fooling around, as reported. I don't know this for sure, but has been reported. Actually, I think he even admitted it on one of the 24/7s that he hasn't exactly been faithful to his wife, that he, I guess he likes to gamble excessively. He's just he was acting wild and crazy, um, and now that he's quote unquote found religion, he's been looking like shit in the ring. And the same thing with Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods couldn't be beat. You could make a bet against Tiger Woods that anyone in a competition could beat Tiger Woods, and you'd still, you know, it was unbelievable. I mean, you could bet anyone would win, and then you could bet Tiger would win. And now Tiger can't win one. Same thing to save his life, since he got busted cheating on his wife, and his whole life fell apart, and she ran off with the kids and whatever else. So I think it was a combination of both. Anyhow, that being said, um, what I think Arum's plan is now is, look, eventually Mayweather is taking these challenging fights. I mean, Guerrero's not going to be a cakewalk. I do think that 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 Mayweather's going to win, but I think it's going to be a fight kind of like Cotto, except even tougher. But I still think he's going to win. Instead of it being like 8-4, it might be like 7-5 or something like that. It'll be a closer decision, I think. Um, but I still think Mayweather, he knows how to handle the very aggressive type. and he's way more technically proficient than Guerrero is. So, I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised too if it's similar to Cotto. The only thing is Guerrero is younger, has a little more energy, can rush Mayweather a little bit, and that's kind of when Cotto was having some of his success. But we all know Cotto's kind of, he's had a history of gassing out, and the older he gets, even though he looked very good, relatively speaking, as to how he's looked recently against Mayweather. He looked very good, I thought, but in terms of his stamina and such, but still, it's always been an issue. And with Guerrero, he's a young buck, and he's really looking to mix. He mixes it up. He gets a little dirty in there, and that's one thing Cotto really doesn't do. At least, I know there may have been in his past some questionable shots below the belt that he's made, but all in all, he doesn't really, he's a relatively clean fighter. He's kind of like, yeah, he's relatively clean, you know. So anyhow, that being said, I just think that Mayweather's going to fight Guerrero, and then the idea is he's probably going to fight Canelo. Those are not cakewalks. Those are not, especially at his age. These guys are young, strong, up and comers, and he's the highly experienced, highly skilled, talented veteran fighter. In the twilight of his career, if you will. Um, so I'm not saying he slipped at all. I'm just saying he's on the tail end of his prime, you know. So he's on the tail end of his prime. So uh, I think that eventually, I think what's going to happen is that Mayweather will eventually lose a fight, and then as long as Pacquiao doesn't continue to completely fall off, let's say he has a fight where he, to a certain extent, redeems himself, like a Marquez fifth fight or somebody else. Maybe he fights Cotto again, not at a catch weight, and beats him. Which actually, I'm not even so sure that would happen. So he might want to try to avoid that fight. But he's got to fight somebody legitimate and look good. And I don't think it's past Arum and all of his situation that they could rig something against one of those fighters and make it look good and make him win. So now you have the guy that fell off and who somewhat redeemed himself, and now you have the best fighter, Mayweather, who takes a loss. So now the stage once again is set for them to fight again. You know, and depending upon Mayweather's financial situation, depending upon other factors, that primarily what other fights there are out there to take, I think if Mayweather finds himself in a situation where he's hard up for cash, I wouldn't be surprised if they take that fight and there isn't a word about that Olympic style blood testing, the demand for that. I think all that shit goes out the window. I think it's a tool that Mayweather used, a negotiating tool, um, because I don't think that at this stage he doesn't have to take that fight. So why take that fight against someone who will have an unfair advantage, right? At this stage in his career, he doesn't need it. So why do it? Why risk his undefeated record? I don't blame him, especially when this guy wants more than half and he doesn't deserve it, or even at half, it doesn't deserve it. So the more time goes by, the more the pay-per-view records show that Mayweather is overwhelmingly a stronger draw. Then Mayweather will get his cut. And as far as the Olympic style blood testing goes, I wouldn't be surprised if they throw that one right out the window, because it'll be a point where the fight will be viable for the both of them. And so we'll see. But I sort of knew this was coming with Pacman, and we'll see if they don't manufacture, they don't manufacture back his comeback, just kind of like they sort of manufactured his career. Now they're going to manufacture his comeback. Um, you know, and then we'll see. Then we'll see. But that's pretty much what I think is going to happen. And when that day comes, depending upon you know Mayweather's condition and Pacquiao's condition, I still tend to think all other things being equal, meaning they both age a little bit, they lose a little bit. I still think Mayweather wins. I think that you know just be a matter of time before you can catch him. Look, Mosley went on the record saying that he thinks that Mayweather hits just as hard as Canelo. I just think that Mayweather's speed and Mayweather's slickness doesn't allow the audience to appreciate his real power because he's not brutal about it. He's smooth about it, so it doesn't look as as forceful, if you will, as powerful. But I do believe it's there. I believe Mosley's assessment is a fair assessment. Um, he's been in the ring with both of them, so you know. But anyhow, that's it.